Welcome back to another episode of Automate Office Work. I'm your host, Justin. Today's topic is Law in the Age of Algorithms, how technology is redefining the legal profession. And I'm with my guest, Samarth Jhunjhunwala. Samarth, how are you doing? And would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Justin. I'm doing great. And for the record, it's 11:38 p.m. in the night in India while we are shooting this. And I would rather like to keep the energies high. So yeah, a little about me. My full name is Samarth Jhunjhunwala. I come from India. I am currently in the capital of the country, Delhi. I have completed my law recently, and I am a litigation lawyer. I've completed my law from Merit University, Greater Noida, and I have been working on different matters covering a wide spectrum of law, including commercial, civil, and criminal laws, which I feel is the best way to go about it while you are in the early age of your professional journey, so that you can have a grasp and knowledge about everything. Howsoever, while I was in my law school, a lot of time I spent doing internships in the corporate sector. And that is why I feel today, while we will be diving into the conversations ahead, we can actually explore how I remember our first call while you were telling me about the work you do at Automate Office and how people are actually dying and wasting time in spreadsheets and emails, and how litigation trackers work in Indian corporate sector also. So that is also a thing. And other than that, other than my law journey, I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm working on my own business. I would rather really much like to tell you about it, but not on the camera because we have not launched it yet, but off the camera 100%. So yeah, that's a little about me. So primarily in one line, I'm a law professional, early age law professional, trying to get a grasp of everything.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And
Right.
so you have some talking points that you would like to go into.
Right. So the talking point about is majorly around the topic, which is again a hot topic in the nation, which is AI. And again, coming to the fact from the field that we belong from, which is legal law, I believe that the legal workflows needs to be reimagined the way it is being functioning in the country. I believe the topic of the conversation is majorly towards how the law in the age of algorithms, which I feel that since the AI has taken major roles in a lot of sectors of the job market today, and it is easily and very rapidly, I would rather say not easily, very rapidly, it is gaining interest and traction in the Indian legal sectors also. It is very pertinent for us to have a look on what all AI softwares and what all AI in general can do for us. And this came to my mind while we were discussing before about your own work, that how you help with your own software and the application that you have developed, which helps the lawyers to avoid the clerical work and the administration jobs so that they can actually focus on the legal task and the legal assignments that they are built, that they are specifically required to do so, and they have read about it. So I feel in India also the situation is very much similar to your land, that the a lot of clerical and administrative works are going on, which the Indian lawyers are doing it, and due to which the efficiency and the mind of the Indian law is that actually should be there. As a lawyer, I should proactively take care of the matters. I should proactively give my opinions on the legal questions and the legal point of law.
Mm-hmm.
However, I should not dive myself into this messy Excel sheets. I'll tell you something. There is something known as a litigation tracker. I don't know if you know about this, but in the Indian corporate sectors, it's a major deal. So when it comes to Indian law market, there is a litigation tracker is primarily for it's primarily one thing which you will find everywhere. It's nothing like that. If in India there are firms which are categorized into tier one law firms and tier two law firms and the boutique law firms, litigation tracker is something which is common in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So litigation tracker is nothing but is a massive spreadsheet where they are maintaining a data of all the ongoing cases. What was the previous order? What is the current status? How many number of applications have been filed? What is the result of every application? In order to make sure what is the next date of hearing, just to keep them updated about the fact ki what all case so that they can manage it efficiently. But I would not name any organization. However, while I was an intern, I was working with one of the tier one law firms in India. And one of my major assignment was to actually update their litigation tracker. So as a law student, now that I've been a working professional also. At that point of time, I found it very interesting where I was doing, you know, trying to find out orders from the website of different codes, trying to figure out what is the status of that particular case and trying to fill it in the Excel. But now when I go back and look on it, I think that was a merely clerical data entry task.
Hmm.
It had nothing primarily to do with the law, right? I know
Hmm.
students might learn something how to download orders and everything, but that is something you can actually learn in one day. We, as students coming up in the age of computers, where computer language is one of the major subject which have been taught to us, we know how to operate computers, we know how to operate websites, and it is pretty easy and convincing now, given that every court in India have their own websites, if not at the district levels, but obviously at the national levels and the state levels. So that particular litigation tracker exercise that I had to do, it took, so in India, I did a 4 week internship. 1 week was only to update a litigation tracker. So now I feel that was a merely data entry task. If we can automate that, or if we can make an application or a method, I'm not saying just to rely on AI, because let's just be very true, does not matter how much technologically advanced we are. It at every point, I believe human intervention will be required.
Hmm.
Even in AI is at nascent stages. AI is still holding its grips on India, and I think when it comes to law, particularly, law is a very traditional field in itself. Law is conventional when it comes to India, and it takes time in India to actually shift from one place to another, to reimagine the ecosystem of how the work had going on, how the thing has gone. But I think we should rapidly catch up on it. And I'll also give you certain insights. I've been reading about it. A couple of AI softwares and the big giants in the field of AI law segment, they have been tying up with the tier one law firms of India. And primarily, however, the work is related to the corporate sector. The work is dealt by the companies matters and the commercial matters. They are rather not very much dealt when it comes to the civil law and the criminal law. However, that is the area that will be much explored. So that is how I feel, since it's given we live on the age of algorithm. And I'll tell you, I'll talk about the dark sides also. I've seen a lot of associates. So when it comes to a law firm, you have lawyers at every level with every level of experience, right? You yourself was a lawyer, and now so I've seen associates who have got a job there and they are relying heavily on the AI softwares, which I particularly feel is not okay. But here I have a, I don't know, I have a diverse opinion. I have a difference of opinion in my own way, because even I was actually having a conversation about this with one of my close friends, and he told me about the concept of, so when it comes to, so again, the question arises, even if I'm relying on AI to get a legal opinion or to point something out, let's just say I'm drafting a petition. I know what all points are there. I know what all issues I have to cover. I know I have done my research. I know how I have to tackle one of the issue. I have to present it before the court. But I am lacking the articulation. I am lacking the words. So that I'm relying on AI now. I am going to the AI. I'm inputting my thoughts. I'm giving it the prompt to make an argument for me, and then it articulate my argument. It put it in a very great paragraph, and then it present to me. I copy it and I paste it in my own drafting petition. Now, the question which comes to my mind, is it efficient? Is it not? What my close friend told me, he told me that it's actually a concept of vicarious liability where I, being the master, I'm giving prompts to the AI software, which is like the servant to me, and then the creativity is mine, the thought is mine, the process is mine. It is only articulating. But again, when it comes to the other side of it, I also feel that this is not very ethical, because you're relying on a module software which has been treated in a way, which has been prepared in a way. It's all of them are learning I am forgetting the word. It's learning models, I think, right?
Hmm.
AI and ML technologies have been used. You will be the better person to tell me about it. But I think AI and machine learning is there.
Hmm. LLM, large language model.
Right, LLMs. So since all of them GPTs and all of them LLMs are there, so they have been trained a way. And there have been a lot of study, there have been a lot of surveys showcasing a fact that if I'm giving it a prompt and I'm not justifying it, I'm not specifying it. Let's just say if I'm asking GPT or if I'm asking any other AI software. In India, there was a recent study survey which came out to the fact when if I'm putting a prompt, I'm asking it to create, let's just say asking it to create an image of CEOs of the company and the team members. What did the GPT create? GPT create a boardroom filled with male members. Then the question comes in, where the females cannot be the CEOs. Why there was no female in the CEO? See, right? You're understanding my point. So it has been
It's
taught in your
biased.
mind.
Mhm.
It is biased. It has its own perceived prejudice against the people, and that might also affect the judgment when it comes to the petitions. Let's just say that petition with a biased opinion is present in the court of law, and then the
Mhm.
precedents come out of it, which might be devastating.
It's also not trained to give you truth. It's trained to predict the next word or the next pixel of something that it thinks you want to see. And so it will give you a product that you really like. You say, this looks great. This looks fantastic, until you actually check it and you realize this isn't true at all. It's not, it's not giving you truth. And yet we expect it is. My wife asked it a question. We wanted to go to Barcelona, and so she asked it, what are some really good Airbnb apartments to look at in Barcelona? It gave her a beautiful page of these amazing apartments that she really wanted to go see, until each one that she clicked on, it didn't exist. And she said, huh? How can this be? It's just making stuff up. And that's what we have to realize. It's not giving you truth. And so if you ask it for like court opinions and it gives you a list of beautiful court opinions, you better trust, you better verify all of them.
Very true, very true. Specifically, I'll tell you, I believe there have been a couple of examples in the Indian courts where judges have actually reiterated the same. They have they have imposed cost on the advocates for actually using AI tools for drafting the
Mhm.
petitions with non-existing, not unreliable sources, non-existing sources. Because when it comes to, and it has happened a lot of times, if I'm using a general AI tool, let's just say ChatGPT, that is the most famous one right now, or maybe Perplexity, if I'm using any of them for any legal opinion or legal question, I'm asking them, they are giving me a great legal opinion given, which is biased given the fact, because when I am entering a prompt, I also have a biased opinion because I'm representing either of the sides. So I have a biased opinion in my mind. That is why the judgment which it is giving me, the opinion is also biased. Second, the cases, a lot of times it happen, the cases that it is relying upon, they does not even exist. And you know the funny part here is it will give me a case that does not exist with a case citation.
Mhm.
So I've actually seen people using it, and believe me, when it comes to the advocates with experience, it has been devastating. But a lot of people who are actually students right now, who are students of law, and I would rather say me also, while I was also a student studying, while we use ChatGPT for writing research papers and everything in the law, we used those fake, unreliable, and non-existing sources, and then we plant it as our own research. So it's both. It's rigidized, it's biased, it's non-existent, and then you call it a research. So again, this is something which is a dark implication of heavily relying on the AI and the age of algorithm. And now when this come into the picture, I have seen there are LLM models developed specifically for the law. I have seen there are a couple of, I don't want to name any, but I think you can just go on Google and ask AI models in India for law. We'll have a list of four. At least I have seen people using, heavily relying on two, three of them. I myself have relied a couple of times. However, they are not as accurate as they should be, or as they claim that they are. Because if you are a general LLM model, you have a caveat, you can actually write that the legal opinion, because I think GPT does it when you ask for a legal opinion, it does say that is what I feel. However, you should consult an actual royal when it comes to the real life problems. You should consult an actual lawyer. But the GPT models that have been created specifically for the legal research, they do not do it. And then they produce you a biased, unreliable, non existing information, which I feel is something that should not be the case. So here an alteration, here a more advancement is required. So that again come makes us back to the same point that AI right now is, since it is taking over a lot of things, a lot of rapidly involvement is coming up, but it is at a very nascent stage.
Mhm.
And then again, I remember when GPT came into the first GPT had. So if I, today's November 14th while we are recording this. So if today on November 14th GPT is being updated, so the knowledge of GPT is actually till November 14th, right? So if I am asking about a legal opinion for a case which happened on 15th of November, it might have zero opinion
Hmm.
because that is not in this model.
Hmm.
So that is also something we should actually ponder upon and think how this needs to be navigated. How, because again, when we talk about law, when we talk about medicine, the opinion of an AI tool actually or any of the models can affect and impact lives and people's involved on a very heavy level.
Hmm.
So that is what I think is there. And again, when it comes to the comparative, I would rather like you to now let me just, shed some light on the fact how it is there in the West and how things are there when it comes to from your own experience, given from the background that you're from tech and law both.
Hmm. So I think we need to focus on, and you opened with this a little bit. You talked about how I focus on, and you said a lot of lawyers are struggling with the administrative work. I think that is where we need to focus. We need to focus on the easy, simple stuff that is not flashy. So if you listen to the AI vendors, they always talk about going for the most amazing, interesting stuff. And the stuff that you're talking about, how it makes mistakes. So why not go for the easy, simple stuff, which is what most of us are struggling with anyway. It's like 85% of what I struggle with is this administrative stuff. It's this spreadsheet and all these emails.
Absolutely, absolutely right. Absolutely. It again, it actually hampers. I would rather say, just imagine the fact it hampers in another way also. If I have 8 hours of work to do, and again, in
Mhm.
India, when you are a litigation counselor, even that if you are a lawyer, it's not there is nothing like an 8 hour job. You have to do a 16-hour job. You have to do a 20-hour job when it comes to it because you have crazy deadlines, you have time crunch, you have meetings piling up. And now you have to, while you are a litigation lawyer, you have to run around cities, run around courts because one matter is one type of case is handled at one place in one type of court, another type of matter will be handled at another type of court, and you would have to actually locomote there. Now, here, just imagine the mentality of a lawyer or the mindset from which it comes from. If I'm working a 16-hour shift and I'm traveling and I'm trying to give my own legal opinion, I'm also doing administrative work and everything, then I am so mentally tired, my body is exhausted, that it might also happen that I might commit mistakes, right? Because of all the tardiness, because of all the work that I am doing it, I am doing administrative work, I'm doing clerical work, I'm making spreadsheets, I'm responding to email queries, I'm doing a lot of XYZ other works. And when it comes to actual lawyer work that I'm supposed to do, I'm making mistakes because I'm mentally tired, my body is physically tired. So that is
Mhm.
also one way AI can actually help us. AI can actually become an actually an agent of us
Mhm.
and actually assist us. So again, the question which I ask myself is the whether I am want AI to assist me or whether I want AI to actually take on my own work so that I don't have to look at it again. But when I try to find an answer, I would rather say I want AI to be my assistant. I would rather not actually want AI to do all of my work because
Mhm.
let's just say maybe I am built that way that I cannot actually trust on everything that comes up in artificial intelligence because whatsoever, even if it's an intelligent tool, it's an artificial one.
Mhm.
It does not have. And again, when it comes to legal opinions, you does not have a drafting petition. So when I'm drafting a petition, I have to draft an argument in a way where I'm focusing on the law, where I'm focusing on the facts, where I'm also keeping in mind what is the outcome that I want out of this petition. And I have to also keep in my mind whether I'm trying to pinch or attack on the emotions, whether I'm trying to gather the emotions out of it. And I don't feel that LLM models can grasp that emotion out of it. If I ask it to be, so now if I'm giving a prompt to an AI model, I'm asking it to draft a petition on section XYZ of this code, of this act. And now it has drafted a flawless petition with great arguments and everything, but does it have a touch of emotions? Does it actually convey the points in the way I want the judge to hear it? So that whether judge can have an opinion in my favor? I think that is a big no for me.
Mm.
Because and now I've seen, I believe on LinkedIn also, a lot of people, the LinkedIn gurus, so gurus are basically the teachers, and I'm using it the sarcastic way. So the LinkedIn gurus have actually identified a lot of text. I see a lot of people posting on LinkedIn about their achievements, which is also generated out of GPTs. They have their, so GPT models have this M dashes, so the big dashes is there, the big hyphens, M dashes. So a lot of LinkedIn gurus have identified how they are relying on GPTs. You know, Justin, I actually this morning or last morning I read a LinkedIn report only. LinkedIn post was by some lawyer, and they posted about the fact that there was a newspaper which has published an article on one of the topics of the law. And the last paragraph of that article is, if you want, I can redesign it in a more simpler language. So you get it, right? So
Uh-huh.
that is how the Indian segment is working. So that is where I get surprised. You know what I feel should be there actually? I feel since computer classes are a mandatory course for students in the schools of India, I think today AI classes should also be become mandatory. Because now AI was not there 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Even if it is was there, it was not conveniently used by people like us, people like you, or people, a lot of other people. We did not had the command over artificial intelligence, right? But now we do. So now the proper education should be there of people, because a
Mhm.
lot of giants who are actually spending millions and billions of dollars in trying to create GPT models, which might be efficient, accurate, reliable, should also, if you have a product, you'd also have a workforce to use it. There cannot be a mismatch, right? Because I feel, I feel if I rely on AI a lot, maybe I will lose my creativity. Where if I have to write a simple leave application, I would rather go on GPT and type, write me a leave application to be sent to my HR. I don't want to do that, because
Mhm.
that is actually giving command to AI,
Mhm.
right? So
I'm getting the feeling from what you're saying. You have a theme that we need to be acting with intent. We need to think, what is it that we want the AI to do, and what do we not want it to do? So why don't we look at all the activities and decide this?
we can,
Like
but
this
how?
this is repetitive and boring, something that I do not want to do. But this other thing is something where I get to use my creativity and my human qualities, my emotions.
Right.
I want to do that.
Again, but where do you draw the line? How do you actually think which? So if who is the judge of it, right? Who
Hmm.
will judge the fact that this I want to do with AI, this I do not want to do with AI? Because I feel even if people are using AI for simple tasks, they are ready to claim it as their own work. They are going to. So that is something which we use as plagiarism, right? Plagiarism is using someone else's work without giving them the credit.
Hmm.
I think that is how it is going to pan out. If I am very honest to my work and I'm posting, all right, I want AI to help me. I want AI to be my assistant. I don't want to hand over my command to AI. I might use it for the difficult task. I might use it for in a comparatively ethical way. That is how I would put it.
Hmm.
However, when it comes to individual, every individual has their own mind, they have their own brain to think, right? What might be ethical for me might not be ethical for you.
Hmm.
So that is how they might feel. So they might use AI for everything, and then they can claim that it is their own work. And now, how do you create a difference? So again, which brings me to the fact that which brings me to another talking point of me, that there is a resistance to change in India's legal sector, if not even legal, I would say general tendency of the people. Because see, we are human. We would rather actually have to we like assistants, right? We don't know, we are we are lazy creatures and crazy creatures also. So we are lazy people. We do not want a lot of work to do. We just want to earn big. We want to be. So I remember when AI was introduced, AI came in with the fact that AI will boost your productivity, AI will bring your efficiency and reliability on your work. But now you're actually giving the command to AI, which is a bit concerning. That is what I feel. And in a
Hmm.
profession like law, where things as something which actually can create a difference, can actually impact people's involved, a little more bit of a stretch or strict absoluteness should be there. That is how I predicate it. That is how I think it should be there. And honestly, I would rather say I use AI. It's not like I'm a monk or I am as conventional as it could be, and I don't use AI tools. I do rapidly use a lot of AI tools. I have rather used it for drafting my own petitions. I have done it.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do not blindly copy paste it. Right? If I do not believe that AI is an 100% accurate and reliable source of information, if I've given it a prompt correctly, the content which will come out as an output will also be correct.
Mm-hmm.
I revisit it, I re-review it, I reread it, and I keep on editing it till the point I feel that. So it's rather for me, while AI was not there, I was the author of the book. Now, since AI is there, I have the material. I am just trying to edit it and I'm trying to make it more suited for the audience or for the people I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, I think, so that is what I want an AI tool to be. AI tool can be the author because I am 100% sure that vocabulary and the choice of words that and the articulation that an AI model can do, I cannot achieve it, at least not with many years of experience. So I will use it because I would. So again, I'm a young lawyer. I'm fighting cases against with lawyers with 10 years of experience, with 15 years of experience, and I want my draft to be as crisp and clear and accurate as there are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm going to rely on AI tools. However, I'm going to revisit it, rewrite, re-review it, and rather rewrite it, I would rather say, because AI is going to give me. So for me, I have an idea. I'm giving it in a prompt. It is only articulating my idea with better
Uh-huh.
choice of words and content. And now I'm using those better choice of words and contents to be written in a petition in a manner where I am checking and filling all the boxes that needs to be filled there. For a petition, if I am strong on facts, I'll argue on facts. If I'm strong on law, I'll argue on law. If I'm not strong on either of these, I would try to argue on emotions and the impact which it will have.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how I would think that AI models should be adapted and should be used. Other than that, when it comes to the clerical and the administrative work, AI models are something that is here to stay. I am 100% sure AI is going to redefine the way people work in all the sectors, especially legal sector, because since the work in legal sector is enormous, the work is very major. I am 100% sure it is going to be here for a very long period of time. AI is going to be the new normal of the legal landscape. But for the clerical and administrative work, it's a great alternative. It's the best alternative that it can ever be. And then comes in picture people like you, who are actually are who has the vision to think it beyond. I am thinking it now after I have had a conversation with you. You thought it before me a long time back. That is when you decided to work on something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So here you are the visionary who has actually thought about it, and I'm sure it is here to stay. But again, the question or the mindset that I have, I am conventional about it, how it is to be used. It has to be relied upon, but with a caveat. It has to be and content has to be vetted. The content has to be revisited. You cannot blindly be a follower of AI generated content and you can press it in the code. That is how I think about it. What is your opinion? What do you think?
So I totally agree with you. The way that I formulate it is that AI should not be the end of your thinking. Um, it should be the beginning of your thinking. You should not just blindly take an output from AI and use it as your own. Instead, that output, you should think of it as your input. It's an input, and then you get to rework it, and then that is your output. It goes through your brain. You need to use it. You're passing it off as yours, so it needs to become, and you need to integrate it with your own thinking. I do often post on LinkedIn, and I do use ChatGPT, but I usually write my full idea, like many paragraphs, into ChatGPT, and then I ask it, can you improve this for LinkedIn? And then it often makes it shorter. It puts it into bullet points. It rewords things. It makes things clearer. But the base ideas are mine. I actually don't mind if there are M dashes. I think that it helps people to read it easier. So if they see like, oh, he used ChatGPT, in a way, I like to think that, well, I had the respect for my audience to put it through ChatGPT to ask it to make it just a little bit better for them. So I actually don't mind that they see M dashes a lot of times.
I agree with most of the things you said, but I'll tell you where the mindset gap is here. So when it comes to, I think people, to the best of my knowledge, I would rather say I have seen. So the LinkedIn gurus that I was talking about, there was actually. So here, you know what is the fact here? The fact here is people are using AI tools, but they do not want to accept it. Why? Because if I am accepting the fact that the content that I have posted is actually not mine, but rather just a thought in my mind which has been articulated by another one, and the choice of words that are there and the better articulation that is there, it's not mine. I feel that is what people will feel key. The idea which is coming out of my own mind is actually, let's just say, I'm not capable of writing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It will make people will think lesser of themselves, or people will assume that if I post it online and I accept the fact that this has been created by an AI model, people will think that he cannot do this, he feel lesser of himself. And that is where the mentality gap is here. So you might use an AI tool and be proud of it, but in India people are using AI tool and they do not want to highlight it. They want to showcase as their own because they want it to be like that it's my own creation. Here the mentality issue comes in. That is what I feel, because even though if I am relying heavily on, so that is the idea. You should not be as redundant as you are right now. It's okay. It's the new normal. It is here to stay. If you're relying on AI, you are actually trying to make it more efficient, articulate, and productive. But again, if you are blindly copy pasting it and then putting it out, then rather you should actually own up to it. So you're not trying to own up your own content, and that is where the problem comes in.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Sometimes I don't even write my own posts. Sometimes I'm at the gym and I'm listening to like a really in-depth, like a YouTube video that just gives me new insights that I want to share on LinkedIn. So often it's like an hour long of like all these deep, really ideas. So I'll take the transcript from the video and I put it into ChatGPT and I say, write a LinkedIn post about this, talking about how deep it is. And then I begin these posts by saying, I read something or I heard something really amazing. And then I give the article. And then at the end, I say credit to, or you can listen to the entire video here. So I'm not passing it off as my own thoughts. I feel like I'm giving really good value, but I'm not claiming these ideas as my own. They're just good ideas.
Right. So here you are not as someone who is actually owning up the content, but rather you're trying to
Well,
disseminate it to a larger audience.
mhm.
Right. That is
and,
what here
and
you're.
and often the original author, I will tag them in the LinkedIn post.
So, and that is the ideal and the best way to go about it. Okay, you are a public figure. You are someone who you are a content creator. You have created a content. Your content came to me because I follow you. I was amazed. I wanted to be heard and listened by a lot of other people. I have posted about it. So here I am doing two things. I'm commending your work that you have prepared a content like that, and I'm trying to disseminate it to a larger audience.
Uh-huh.
Here, if you're using an AI tool to write this, I see nothing wrong is here. But rather, if you see key, if you write in a way, I read about this video, or this, I read this article, I heard this video, and that is how I feel about it. And then you just think, when you post it as your own thought, when you post it as your own video without giving any credits, then it's blatantly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that should never be the case. Again, for me, an AI is going to be an intelligence, but it's an artificial thing, like I already said, and it is here to assist me, not to overtake me. That is
Mm-hmm.
how I want my AI models in the legal landscape to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want students. So I'll tell you, in Indian law colleges and law universities, whenever we are supposed to write a research paper or something, There are multiple plagiarism softwares that are applied because there is a plagiarism limit that needs to be applicable. So we have Turnitin, we have rather other softwares which universities have access to. And now, since the AI evolution has been there, Turnitin also has a new feature of detecting AI.
Mm.
So it is detecting now how the colleges are adapting in law schools in India. Now, if they had 10 pointers guideline how your paper should be, now they have an 11th pointer citing the fact that the AI percentage should be 5, 10, or 0. So that is how the traditional regime of law schools is also adapting and changing. But so ever, the Indian courts can never pass a guideline citing that your drafting petition should have 10% of AI or AI percentage is allowed, right? When you are
Mm.
drafting a petition or you're submitting an application to the Indian court, you are writing it on your client's behalf. You are only representing your client and his case. So whatever you are writing in the petition, it needs to be absolutely, technically, it needs to be absolutely true. It needs to be absolutely true with respect to the law, with respect to the fact. So now you are going to be heavily penalized if it comes to in the knowledge of the code that you have relied on an LLM software and you're claiming
Mm.
his points as your own points with unreliable sources, with non-existing sources and datas,
Mm.
and which is blatantly wrong towards the client, which is a breach of the contract between you and the client, I would rather say, in the legal terms, because I have relied on you. I want you to be my attorney. I want you to represent me. You are my advocate. So whatever you are presenting in the court needs to be true, and you are blatantly relying on an AI software, copy pasting his ideas, posting it as my facts, which is impacting me, and now I have to pay an hefty fine of it.
Mm.
This is wrong. This is where the system needs a redesigning or reimagination of how AI models needs to be. But I would rather also point out the fact that I have seen a lot of changes happening around. I have seen judges in Indian courts interacting with AI tools and AI models, because I feel technology in any sector, whenever it goes, it is there to stay. Technological advancements are always going to stay. Technological advances are going to bring redefinition and evolution in any sector. And now, since an AI evolution is going on in different sectors, in legal landscape, AI evolution will also happen, and we need to adapt. But
Mm.
again, we need to balance out the fact, like you asked me, to be the judge of the fact what all tasks should needs to be done by an AI or what all tasks should not be done by an AI. Ethically and unethically, I should be the judge of it.
Mm.
Because I should only not think about the fact that it is convenient for me, it will make me more productive, or I would have to have less burnouts and it will help me. I should also think of the implication that it might have if things go south.
Mm.
That is where the own consciousness and the sense of morality out of an individual who is an advocate representing someone else should come in the big
Mm.
place. And
I
that
liked
is
what you said about how we have to reimagine how we want to use technology with law. And that's not just efficiency, but like making things faster or cheaper, but like how can we revolutionize what it is, how we're creating value with law and technology. I talked with one lawyer in the UK. She was a litigation lawyer in the UK, and when ChatGPT came out, she left litigation and she joined a startup. They created an app for car crash victims, and they needed her to tell them what are all the legal questions that a person who is in a car crash should answer, and like get all the pictures and videos and testimony and maybe medical examiner kind of stuff, like what is everything that needs to go in this app. And then they sold the app to law firms. That's how they made their money. But then the law firms are supposed to give the app for free to all of their clients. And they tell the clients, whenever you're in a car crash, get this app on your phone and it tells you everything to do, every single data point that we need. And then when you submit it, all of this data comes to our law firm, and we have every single data point to make your case to the court. And it now goes so much faster. And she said the law firms are making so much money, small amounts multiplied by like 100,000 people at a time. And so access to justice has gone up. there's much less time for intake. They don't have to interview all these car crash victims. And on the app, they can use AI so that it goes through like a conversation with the person, and the AI can speak at the level of intelligence of the person. So it doesn't matter if you can read or if you're a little child, you can all interact with the app. And so I just thought this is a different way of imagining, you know? And now when you're talking about like, well, how do we write this stuff? I'm thinking, how do you get the data points from the beginning? How does your person even know what to tell you? That is the place where you put AI into it. And then you're going to be so much more efficient as a lawyer.
You definitely make a case for your own point, Justin. I'll tell you something that. So,
Mm,
uh, I'll give you credits for it. Actually, it's a rather very good thought. So here, I think a lot of things have happened here when I talk about reimagining and in the era of evolution of AI. This is something that can happen. So let's just say I would rather formulate it in a way that, all right, I'm an advocate, which means I have the knowledge of law, which makes me different from the people who does not have the knowledge of law. So whenever their rights have been it has been hampered, or a lot of people, or anything happens to them, they come to me with they plead their case, they tell me the facts, and I tell them a way out, or I'll tell them the correct way to go about it, which I can tell them because I have read about it, because I know about it. Why I know about it? Because I'm an advocate. I'm supposed to know about it. Now, what is happening? What has happened in your case? While you gave me an example of the app which was created for a car accident. Now here, that it has actually empowered the people who have an access to the app,
mhm,
that they can actually understand what all technicalities and what all things will actually help them to make their own claim and case, I would rather say.
mhm,
Right? Because ultimately, when in a lot of accident cases, the case of claim also comes in the picture. They would rather want the claims to be made. So now, if I am already aware, if I know, okay, I have been in an accident, there is an application, I can go on it, I can read all the documents that needs to be there, I can need all the technical steps that needs to be there. I would, before reaching to a law firm, I would, before contacting a lawyer, arrange all of it, and then I'll go to it, which will make my work more faster and cheap,
mhm,
productive, right? And it helps both of the way. It helps the person who has been affected also, that he is not going lawyer to the twice, because if it has not been the case, he would go to the lawyer, and then the lawyer will give him the list that I need all these things from you, then only I can fight your case. So that timing is cut short, and for the lawyer also, now he does not has to spend his own time trying to
uh-huh,
tell client what needs to be done, so that he also has more time to work on other things that make sense.
uh-huh,
Now, here, when it comes to, not only in the case of car accident, I think at a lot of other places an AI application can be built. So I'll just give you an example. Let's just say if I have to, I'll talk about one of the cases I was working on. So we were working in this corporate law firm, and I was supposed to make a list of things and the documents that are required for setting up a thermal power plant in one of the states of the nation. So in India, every state that has its own set of rules and has its own
mhm,
set of laws that are applicable to them when it comes to a certain services. So I was working on one of the state, and my client wanted to set up a thermal power plant there. So now it was my job to identify what are laws are applicable there, what are laws are there that needs to be there, what are documents and the check and the balances will be there, what are the application that I needs to fix, what are the type of forms that I will be required, what are the permits, what are the clearances, what are the NOCs that would be required for setting up the thermal power plant. And I am not kidding you, it took me around 12 days to create a list of all the documents that needs to be 12 days while I was working on other tasks as well.
uh.
Let people not judge my efficiency. So right, 12 days, it took me 12 days. Why? Because I was simultaneously working on other things as well. However, the point here is, if there is an application which can actually fetch all those data from the government websites which are there, then it can easily make a lot of work easier, faster, cheaper for me. Because then I can only redirect client to that application who wants to set up something. But again, when it comes to any of this, when it comes to all of those, for even for the car crash application that was made, they needed a lawyer to tell them,
Uh-huh.
right? Similarly, so the first work that was done, it was done by a man only, it was done by a person, right? It was done by a human who told them that these are the steps that are needs to be followed. Then they feed it to the language model and then they created an application out of it. So
Hmm.
similarly, for once we have to work hard. We have to need opinions. We have to take opinions and the actually knowledge from the people who are doing it.
Hmm.
And once the knowledge is corroborated, once the knowledge is tested, tried, verified, then only it can be applied and sell it to the large and mass audience. Right. But I also tell you one thing. So when the law firm, with this on a lighter note, well, the law firm gave this car application to their clients for free. They were technically not
Uh-huh.
giving it for free because they were already their clients, so they must pay them in another services, right? So
Technically.
technically it was
But
not free.
but they would receive even more money in the future with every car crash.
Definitely. And from there, and if you are different from the crowd, I would rather say it will fetch you more clients also.
Hmm.
If you are using this application and there is no other law firm which is using this application and it is actually helping people, you are different from the crowd. You are different from the segment which are not relying on the AI applications. So again, here a small emphasis on the fact to the Indian legal sector, the fast you adapt, the fast you become AI advanced, the more beneficial you will be in the future. So because AI is here to stay, the technological advancement has already begun. I could have not imagined the fact that 5 years before or 7 years before when I started my own legal journey, that I will be actually talking about or I will be actually thinking about. I have studied, there have been talks and there have been a lot of projects which were not being made successful so far. However, a lot of projects were there of AI where AI was used to summarize judgments. In Indian law courts, the judgments are actually lengthy. A lot of lengthier judgments are there. So for the judgments, I've read Western judgments as well. They are not as lengthy as Indian judgments. Indian judgments can easily run through hundreds of pages, and in the landmark cases that are there, they can even go to thousands. And believe me, so they can easily go because again, when it's a constitutional law question, when it's a landmark dispute, the judgments might go to 1,000 words. Howsoever there are practices of reading a judgment. You should are not supposed to read the entire 1,000 page. That would take you ages. But because and again, you're not supposed to read 1,000 pages because you have to cite that case in the tomorrow's session court and you are supposed to argue. How can you read 1,000 pages in one day, right? So there is a method which you read the issues of the case, then you read the research, then you read the analysis of the court, the facts of the case, and what was the judgment given upon those facts, and how the court has applied the law. But if there is a successful AI model developed on this, whether the judgments can be heavily relied upon, they can be compressed, they can be summarized in simpler brief, then it can actually make works more easy. And I remember of a quote here because I was working in one of the office where they had this huge wide background wall and with only one quote written on it that a lawyer is an individual who can write 10,000 words and still call it a brief. So that is the state. So that is the level of clarity we have as Indian lawyers. We write a lot. So we would rather want AI tools to summarize it for us. And I see that this has been happening. I see a lot of news agencies today. So a lot of news articles are also lengthy ones. So I can see a lot of news agencies using AI models and giving me a crisp response to what the article is all about. Because all in all, there are stories, there are back things, there are the timelines of how, but actually the content a lot of times is only of 2 line. What happened? That is the content for me. Because I am already aware of the timeline. So that is also something which we need should look upon.
Hmm.
So that is another way in which we can imagine and we can reimagine how AI evolution can impact the legal sector.
I'm listening to this scenario and I'm thinking, how can we make this in a very simple way? So what I'm hearing from you is that people are taking often the same case, like thousands of pages long, and every one of them is summarizing it using an AI tool, and they're all getting different summaries. And I'm thinking, why doesn't the court just make a summary? Like the court knows exactly what it intends, what should be in the summary. Why don't they just put a summary on like page one? And then you don't need a summarizer, which has its own biases and its own context and it's thinking different things. And I'm also thinking there might be different kinds of summaries. Some people might want a summary of the events. Somebody else wants a summary of the legal topics. Somebody else wants a summary of, I don't know, something else. So if you just say to the AI, give me a summary, what kind of summary are you going to get? So why don't we decide with intent what are the different summaries that we need? And then you just ask the court, can you provide these summaries on page one? It
I'll
gets rid
tell
of
you.
the need for AI completely. You're welcome.
I get you. I get your point, what you're trying to emphasize here. I'll tell you how it works here. So, first of all, while we are something as a litigation counsel, I'm supposed to submit petition, I'm supposed to submit plaints or written submissions to the court, right? So, whenever I'm submitting my own arguments to the court on pay, so the flow goes like I will have index of all the items that have been there because I am making an argument. So, for making one single argument, I can rely on 10 different evidences, right? So all those 10 different evidences needs to be given to the court, which might translate into the volume. I have a dedicated extended index which is giving the judge the insights of how many pages is for the different, how many pages are there for arguments, how many pages are there for the annexures attached, how many pages are there for the volumes of the evidences attached there. But in the beginning, I have a synopsis. So whenever there is a plaint submitted to the court, synopses are being provided from the lawyer's end to help the judge because so the Indian judiciary, they have a lot of pendency of cases. A lot of cases are filed every day in courts in India. So synopsis is given where. So similarly, when the court provides us the judgment, we so in India we have a lot of, I would not say AI tools, but rather legal research assistants. So, which provides us the court judgments, right? So, there are two ways in which I can gather a court judgment. One, I can go to the original court website and I can find out the judgment there. Second, I can go to the legal research tool which is there and they can provide me the judgment. And they are regularly being updated. They are regularly they are updated on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So they are lively updated. Because if I'm doing my own research, I have to go to a researcher tool like LexisNexis, like Manubhatra, like SCC Online, which will provide me the list of cases and the judgments on the for the sake of precedence on the issue I'm fighting for. And now, when they will provide me a judgment of the court, they will provide me with the head note. I can read the head note and I can actually understand what is there in the judgment. Is that judgment is something which is in my favor? Then only I'll actually dive deeper into the judgment and I will rather start reading judgment. So what you told me that there needs to be a summary there, so that has already been implemented by these legal research tools that are there. And in a lot of judgments, I have seen a lot of judges, I would not say all of them do it, but I have seen some of them writing. So every judge has their own method of writing judgment, I would rather say, right? So even though we have a set criteria of all the things that needs to be there in the judgment, but it's not a mandatory criteria. We have a mandate on all of the points that needs to be covered. Then what we have their own writing style. The judge is not bound by any writing style that he should follow. So I've seen a couple of judges that even actually, if the judgment is too long, giving a synopsis to this. But when I require a judgment to be cited in the court of law, I cannot rely on the synopsis. The synopsis will only tell me what is the judgment, what is the outcome of this case. But on what grounds the law has been relied upon, on what grounds, how there has been, how there has been marshalling. So there is this concept of marshalling of evidences. So how marshalling has been done of the facts and the law and how they has been applied. What is the ratio decidendi? What is the arbiter dictated? In order to understand that, I would have to rather dive deeper into the judgment. And if I have an AI tool doing the job for me, then it can
I,
actually be a game changer.
I see we only
Yes.
have 1 minute left.
Okay.
We have a maximum of 1 hour. And so I want to give you the chance, like closing statement, and how can people find you if they would like to contact you?
All right, all right. I would rather take 30 seconds to just tell you that I did not realize that I've been speaking since 1 hour. And
I
I
thank you, by
can
the way.
feel that is why I've started to fumble now, because now my vocal cords are not used to speaking continuously for an hour. However, I had a great time speaking with you, Justin, and believe
Thank
me, did not expected this to be I did not prepare much for this. I thought it would be I wanted it to be raw and real conversation, and that is why I might think that some of the things that I said was repeated again and again, but the core was always the same. How
you.
the AI can be adopted in the age of algorithms. And if anyone of the Justin audience or my audience wants to reach out to me, they can reach out to me on my own LinkedIn profile, Samarth Jhunjhunwala. So whenever Justin will post this video, I'm sure he is going to tag me. Please tag me.
Okay, I will. I will.
Right.
It'll probably be next year.
All right. All right. So, all right, 2026 people, I think so. Whenever you watch this video, you can
Okay.
reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I would be absolutely happy and grateful to reply to any of the text for legal
Uh,
opinions or even for any other connections. Thank you so much, Justin, for having me.
thank you. Thank you for coming.